All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm here with the beautiful Miruna, as usual, and myself, Macy. Welcome to our episode 9, I believe, of the
My
podcast.
God,
It's all within 9.
already.
So lovely to be here. We were just, feeling so grateful to be present here. And we're going to dive into the subject of vulnerability, right? Because we introduced it a bit on the previous episode and talked about what is it, or how empowering it is, And today we felt a need to actually share about more of what were we saying? How to practice it. There you
How to
go. How to
practice
actually
it.
practice it,
Yes.
right? Because obviously we all have different experiences. Some people actually have no knowledge of what is vulnerability and how to practice it. So we're here to step by step accompany you if possible and hopefully bring some light and help if you can find any of that in our beautiful podcast. So I'm gonna give the floor as usual to Mira now to start off and really start in understanding actually, the discernment of the vulnerability, how to actually practice it and see how we can move from that. Yeah.
So beautifully said, huh? How to practice in our own experiences and that we have different experiences. Thank you so much for that, for reminding us that it's very unique. Um, as I was meditating this morning on the openness and on the surrender experience of vulnerability, what came up was resistance, and was the resistance and the discomfort and the protection mechanism that come right up. Just as we say, practice vulnerability, some people actually can just even reject it, right? Like, why would I ever want to do that? Like, what is up with this practice of being vulnerable? I thought we were all working to be powerful and strong and have like super ironclad, you know, costumes of I don't know, unreachable or indestructible. So why would we go to the opposite, right? Why would we like deliberately want to put ourselves in situations of discomfort, of just like literally feeling emotions that are not the most pleasant ones. And well, as entrepreneurs, we were also talking this morning that there's no way that we could actually open new spaces or offer new things or go towards people or just put ourselves out there, as you were saying, if we wouldn't be able to be vulnerable. It's literally impossible, right? Like, how could we stay in our comfort zones and just play it safe and actually reach uh, some new people that we don't know, or some people that we know but we know they have resistance to new things, right? It's literally impossible. Now, is it worth it? I would ask, is it worth the discomfort? Like, the price to pay is, yes, being uncomfortable and just breaking through and getting out of the comfort zone. But is there a price of practicing vulnerability in our own experiences?
For me personally, it depends how you perceive the term price. Many people would see it as a sacrifice or an effort. But at the end of the day, whatever you call it, it's so worth it for me personally. Look, so the price I pay, quote unquote, is the willingness to step, right? You come to a place where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable there to say whatever I say. And then you're confronting this line here and you're like, am I going to step over it? And then I'm like, yes, because from my experiences, like you said, the price is the worthiness of it is freedom. It's love, and you're not obligated to do none of that. You can stay in the ballpark of being comfortable and in the comfort zone and not daring to be vulnerable with those you love or those you have really a deep, intimate relationship with. But my experience, my experiences and what I've witnessed around me is that you are just perpetrating some sort of pain because it's not being offloaded or it's not being actually transcended or experienced through your body, mind, soul, right? So my price for me is the deep discomfort and the fear of being naked, right? The fear of being naked. This fear is psychological. You're not actually going to die from being vulnerable. Not at all. And the only way for people to experience the empowerment and true power of being vulnerable is to actually try and do it. Are we here to actually tell you, yeah, we guarantee you the other person's going to receive it with so much love and
Oh, I
support you
will.
100%? No, guys, this is what's sad. I understand many people said, oh, I was vulnerable and I just got smashed in and I just got rejected. I was just not understood and in many ways. And maybe we're gonna have a team talking about that at some point, but I think we did brush that with hurt people, where the unconscious of certain people is just that they're not provided the tools to actually know how to support you at that moment. But it was never about rejecting you being vulnerable. It was them just rejecting the discomfort at the
Yep.
moment. But the value of you being vulnerable has such a value. And I'm certain that it actually rippled positive effect in this person. Even though at the moment you rejected it for your terms, they
Yes.
got inspired from it. And you felt free from actually addressing the source of the pain. So
I love that so much. Freedom, the price of freedom. Oh my God. What we so long for, right? Oh my God, totally. Indeed, in my experience as well, the more I allow myself to be vulnerable, so just allow what is uncomfortable and go step into inspiring actions or creative actions. Usually is this, right? Step out and do a video, send an email that is totally like you would wish to do 10 things before actually sending that email when you set your boundaries or you actually express what doesn't work for you. So every time basically that I face possible rejection or judgment from others, I'm practicing this leaning into vulnerability or deep diving into it. That sometimes it's a leaning, sometimes I'm just diving, and I too experience a freedom and actually freeing of energy, just literally freeing up energy. It's like as if we're that boundary that you were saying, that is when it just tells you you're safe here, in this square. If you stay here, you're safe. And so you have energy walls just all around. So every time you would go, oh, but I want to go to see what's there. It's like, no. Like, definitely, you would definitely, get eaten by a tiger, imaginary tiger. They're gonna reject you. It's not a good idea. Just, again, remember, we're staying in the square, but as human beings, we're so curious, and our spirits actually, being free, they're always going to push us to go outside of the square, and maybe even prove to us that in the natural world there's no squares. Everything is circular and everything is expansive. So basically it's like going against our own nature. Our nature is expansive and open. It's not restrictive and like fear-based. We do have those signals to keep us safe in our physical bodies, so there is a place for that, but that shouldn't become your prison. Like you said, if that becomes your prison, then it's not worth it. So the price to pay is smaller than the prize that we gain. And also, freeing all that energy boosts us so much and gives us so much creativity. And it's definitely inspiring to others. I've heard numerous times that, seeing you do that, I realize I can do that too. Or, oh, the fact that you spoke out and nobody else actually spoke out really, gave me the courage to be like, you know what, I'm also going to affirm myself, because actually I'm not comfortable with this either. So it's such a beautiful thing to allow ourselves to actually be and to be our authentic selves, right? Because I don't think we can be our authentic selves if we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable. I think
Mm,
it's impossible.
definitely. I love this very much. So it goes in hand with your truth, deep within. It's all within, right? So you can
Yes.
be truthful on a surface level all your life, but there's something that's going to be yearning for more inside, right? You can only connect and be intimate to the level of where you're willing to give. But the more you're giving from within, the more deep is it, the more vulnerable it will be, but the more rewarding it will feel. You will never experience that if you stay in the surface level, quote unquote. You will never experience the same thing as when you truthfully come out vulnerable and connect on another person's vulnerability level, or this person receiving you in your vulnerability. There's going to be such an outwardly feeling of feeling loved, trusted, understood, all this intimacy relationship we want to actually yearn for, so being
Yeah.
seen. So I feel that for people who have not experienced it or don't know how to practice it. And before that, I want to say too that maturity, in a maturity way, we are all the same kind, right? Let's talk about humankind. And there is this unspoken outlaw that when somebody is crying or super vulnerable in front of you, chances are they're going to be more compassionate and willing. There's going to be a yearning for them to just be there and try to comfort you the best way they can. There's really, guys, I am certain it's a really small percentage of, unfortunately, events where they're just not seeing an ending and just hurting you and using that against you, if you want to say it like that. This is a fear,
Mm.
absolutely. I'm not
Mhm.
rejecting that at all, but it's a very infant part. And what happens when your mind rolls up on fear-based thoughts? They think about the infinite percentage of possibilities instead of thinking of what can possibly go right. They think about the
Yeah.
little percentage of what can possibly go wrong. But I'm telling you, for having experienced it myself in face of different type of people, I'm telling you, of course, we're going to talk that perhaps in the next call, in our next episode, but talking about to whom we should to start off, but you have to
Mhm.
learn the discernment that comes with practice. But in any ways of consciousness they were at, the person I was with, they were still having the same reaction positively, meaning they wanted to comfort me. They felt for me. And they felt also very admirable at some point to see me there to open up
Yeah.
to a person that is known to be, strong-willed, strong-headed, whatever they want to, perceive me at. So I want you to just remember, guys, that very in a majority of cases, when they see someone being vulnerable, they want to respond positively to that very, very often. And even when people are not actually vulnerable, they just cry and they're just really just in a place of, sensitivity. People
Mhm.
always, oh, don't worry, everything, especially women towards women, because we're women here. But they
Yeah.
all gonna have the tendency to like want to comfort, okay? So I just wanted us to remember that and not let our fear thought based run it, because especially when we feel that we're being naked, we think, oh, they're probably going to use it against us. We're barehanded. Just no more, no more tools, no more weapons. But anyway, so we talked about the power of it. So I feel that what is the first steps for people who do want to practice more and more this vulnerability? For sure, choose one that you trust the person with, you feel comfortable with. But
Yeah.
when that happens, when something hurts, and that we talked about how to actually experience it in the body, how do you experience this pain? This is a good, beautiful timing for you to step forward. And the way to step forward into your vulnerability is to talk with him. What do you feel with him? How are you feeling hurt? Right? Expressing it, starting to verbalize it, you know. And the more you're doing that, the more you understand where this vulnerability can be actually practiced, but the more you're going to experience the freedom you can get from that, you know. And the way I see it, and I think we're going to talk about the victimhood personality type of mentality, right? I think
Yeah, it's important to.
it's interesting because at the beginning, for me, my personal journey is that at the beginning I was like, I'm giving them weapons to use against me. If I dare to cry in front of them, if I dare to admit that they hurt me, they're going to think they're superior to me in any certain ways, or they're going to use that against me. That was literally, guys, my thinking and my feelings. It was such a prize for me to like, there's no way, because of how you build, how the society builds you for many reasons. There was no question asked for me to dare to allow this weaponization of the other open. For me, was I am against you. When we're arguments, I am against you. You against me. You against me. We are in a war. But this person, you love this person. It's your family. It's your partner. It's your friend. Nobody is at war. Nobody is an opponent. We're not in opposition, guys. We're supposed to here to provide love, here to give love. And today I'm able to see it in such a different way. So when I'm providing this vulnerability for myself, first most, and giving it in the platter in front of the person that I cherish, I see it as a collaboration. I'm letting you know how I feel, not because you have the power to hurt me. It's just a situation from what I've experienced and my pain and my hurt and my wounds of the past that triggered it. And I want you to just share it and be open and give this space so we can see that into it together. I'm giving you an opportunity with love to together join in vulnerability and see how we can resolve that. And if it's not possible, we just put it on the table, but at least I shared what was with it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's very, very beautiful. It's a change of perspective and positioning also that you did.
Yeah, it was really uplifting. It frees you, because from when you're from a perspective of opposition, you are in a weakened position. Like,
Yeah.
and it's very draining, right?
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
you give me 1 second? And this is my fault. I forgot to charge my computer. I have to go get the charge.
Go
But you can
ahead.
please continue.
I love that. Is the positioning that I think makes the difference between victimhood and to feel like a victim or to fear a potential aggressor versus being vulnerable. And that's what I wanted to bring to the conversation. Because you said it, Macy, it's when you're being vulnerable, but also the fear triggers a perspective of opposition, and also activates a belief that you can actually have a power over me, or possibly I can have a power, so like a power struggle. It activates a power struggle. That's where I feel that we're sliding into victimhood. So in my experience, in my past, I had a high sensitivity, especially showing emotions, and even if I would have tried, I couldn't have hidden, like me crying or being sad or very expressive. But every time I slid into victimhood, so that not just being vulnerable and open, and let's say I was starting by being vulnerable, open, and communicative, and then I too found myself in that positioning. I see you're shutting down. I don't see you being open, especially if I see that the other person has no intention of being vulnerable themselves. That's when I get more and more into, oh my God, like definitely not only they're going to use this against me, but they're building protections instead of opening. So that was creating a power struggle. That was creating a power struggle in which I felt powerless, or like the victim of somebody's inability or unwillingness to be vulnerable as well. And then I would become unwilling to be vulnerable, and I would bring like, okay, you know what, let me armor too, because, well, since you're not opening up and we can be sensitive and real, I'm just going to build a wall and use just silence or yeah, disconnect from my own sensitivity and vulnerability, until of course I would try it again, because I'm very persistent. Like seriously, I cannot have relationships with people close to me that are not willing to, at least, so not just able and perfect, I'm saying willing to be vulnerable and authentic and create real bonds, and not, go into manipulation or stonewalling or silent treatment, all those dysfunctional behaviors. I won't have it. So yeah, so up until I would build back the courage to flex my vulnerability and come back again and try one more time. And of course, go into my heart to be loving. Because the thing is, it can work in the moment with the person. But if we have a relationship with somebody who's not willing to flex the vulnerability muscle and is not willing to take off masks, we might actually get it's contagious. So I might actually be influenced to choose what they're choosing and imprison ourselves. That for me is a prison. So that when we're not trying anymore to take off the masks and to open our hearts and to change our perspectives from opposing people to people that are learning how to harmoniously collaborate. So it's a slide. I think that the distinction into victimhood is, am I perceiving myself to be for the other one to have power over me? Like, can the other one literally hurt me? Like, am I so fragile that I can't acknowledge and recover from the pain that they could have triggered in me? And for me now, because it's all within, the answer is no. The other one doesn't have so much power as to literally destroy me. Because when we go very, that voice goes wild in that little portion that you're showing, it's like, oh, they can actually destroy your life. No, they can destroy my life. Okay. So the other will not destroy me or my life or my spirit. I'm not a victim. They could hurt me. They could have behavior that is hurtful, and I will recover from it.
Yeah.
Because if the more I flex my vulnerability muscle, and also the more love I have inside of me, the more I'm connected to the energy of love, that is also who I am, I'm going to be able to alchemize that, like, for sure. I've done it several times already, that I'm confident that definitely I can definitely get over it and alchemize.
Of course. I love this.
Being vulnerable and being a victim is, for me, it's not the same at all. And it's important to see our positioning and our perspective of the other.
Yeah.
Is the other an aggressor or potential threat? Because that's going to really build an image of the other that's actually going to make us not want to be vulnerable. It's creating the opposite. We're going to want to protect, because why would you open in front of an enemy? Like, that's crazy, right? So that perspective needs to change.
The shift. There's a shift that needs to be done. I love this. Very interesting. I love that's beauty, guys. The power of, co-creating, collaborating, community, because we get to understand everybody's different paths and journeys and experiences and put that together and make links and like, oh, okay, I see. And I love that the phrases are like, how do I know that I'm not acting from a victim place? And I would even turn those phrases around and say, I own my own destiny. I choose to overcome any challenges that come to me. I choose to transcend and understand that hurt just makes me stronger. I understand that nobody holds any power over me but only, right, myself, if you want to put it like that. Obviously, the spirituality involved with it, but it's all those phrases and the shifting in your understanding and your mindset that's going to allow you to feel even more empowered when you're going to choose to embrace vulnerability, right? So like you said, it's very, very tricky because I have seen as well people who sort of unconsciously pretend. I'm terribly sorry. Do you hear a bit of me?
Just a little bit.
Oh, these kinds of days. Can you hear me or?
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna be this kind of episode.
We
So
go with the flow.
I feel like this kind of some people have witnessed unknowingly or unconsciously act. They think they act from vulnerability place, but they actually act from a victimhood place because they just, at that moment, because where they are, they're unconscious. I understand that, but they kind of seek the attention. They seek, people saying, "Oh, poor you, we can help you." It's like it's not truthfully coming from within. It is coming from a surface within. I don't know if you understand the difference here.
I do understand it, but I would love for you to give us an example that's more precise, because I find it so important and interesting to see it in our own selves, because I think we can all fall victim to that unconsciously. So
So
that
one of the
is important.
signs, yeah. So one of the signs, vulnerability is very uncomfortable, especially when it's not a practiced muscle, right? So often when you are willing to put yourself in a vulnerable place, it's going to be a one-on-one. It's going to be within yourself or one-on-one or very a private setting. Not necessarily like you cannot do it in a cafe. I'm just saying it's often going to be one-on-one. So one of the signs for me that I've seen that it's often going to be in a surface just to seek out immediate attention is going to be when there's a group, multiple people, when they speaking loudly about it, very easily about it. You know what I mean? When the person's gonna just say something that seems to be repeated, like the story seems to be really by heart repeated, like there's no thought about it, there's no tears necessarily going this. There's no struggle necessarily sharing it. It's just very outgoing and outspoken and very like as speech saying it. You know what I mean? So for me, those are some of the signs. I'm not gonna give specific examples because I don't want to, put out there some people that can associate with that whatsoever, but more in the sense that they're gonna say, "Oh, I feel so sad. Oh, this person just told me that I'm ugly, or this person just rejected me. Oh my gosh, she saw my story or not, or oh, this person I told him that, or she told me that, and then and they're just gonna make a show out of it. And that when you make a show, that's when it's a good sign for me. That's my experience here, guys. I don't hold any truth, but it's just a sign that the ego is putting up the show, right? So when you come from a place of vulnerability in the opposite way, because I want to talk more about that, is where you're gonna have the discomfort in your heart, the feelings of actually admitting. It's like it's gonna be a sense of admitting. So it's like you're gonna admit something, and as you're admitting it to yourself first. Like, oh, I'm feeling hurt because da, 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 da. Oh, I feel that when this person does this type of behavior, I feel that. Oh, I feel rejected when you know what I mean? So it's like the source of energy is not the same, if I make it clear in this sense. So
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. Yeah. Very, very interesting. It's I mean, one sounds very mental, just totally just like a mental image and narrative that is super, that has no resistance or stress to it or actual risk. Like there's no,
well
'cause
said.
if there's no actual risk involved, for me, there's no, the formula of vulnerability doesn't work, right? If what I give is like a punchy story that is going to give me attention, so just reward, and I'm not risking anything, I'm actually getting attention, I'm getting reward, I'm getting something, I'm gaining. There's no risk because I'm not involving my heart, because the second one sounds like I'm actually going deep into my heart. I'm actually risking the openness of my inner world to the outer respondent and the person that I'm interacting with. And so I'm actually risking rejection or judgment. So I'm not seeing the reward. I'm actually, when I'm doing it, probably I'm feeling more the potential rejection, or even before, you know, before doing a TED talk. It's not always that we've been hurt. It's like just go on a stage and improvise. And you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna die right now. Like, do I prefer like go, you know, hide into a hole, or I'm gonna go on
Love this
stage
too.
and
Right?
improvise?
Risk.
So it's literally sharing yourself, giving of yourself with no assurance that you're actually going to gain or you're going to have a price. You're actually risking rejection or ridicule or judgment, which proves the sincerity of the action, and which actually makes that it's vulnerable and it's not, you know, show off.
So well said.
Why would I give from myself and do it if I wouldn't risk to be judged? Like, you know, the love of giving myself, or the confidence, not the confidence, the courage, because sometimes we don't have confidence about it, just the courage to, I feel this is important and I'm just gonna share it. And yeah, sure, I could have a like a full wave of judgment, especially nowadays on social media. It's so easy, right? But I'm not doing it for that reason. So I hear that the second one has a very intrinsic reason, which is I need to be true, or there's a truth in me that needs to be expressed, even if I risk rejection or judgment. So that's when I know I'm not doing it to gain anything, because literally I could lose the
Yeah.
relationship. I could lose a night of sleep because you told me a bunch of judgments, and I had to
But lose
rebalance
also
my
your
mental.
your self image, or what people have an image of
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So
The
it's different
payoff.
positionings, very different
I
positionings.
loved everything you said. This literally, guys, if you have to listen to the whole episode, just listen to exactly what you just said. The end of it. This is just a perfect wrap up of what is the difference and what actually helps you practicing this vulnerability. Vulnerability. Excuse me. Sorry, because I have my somebody cleaning our house today at the same time. So I'm just saying that it's just how helping, yeah, it's just so well said, my dear Miruna. And one is intrinsically motivated, and the other one expects something in return to gain something. And when you put yourself in a positioning of vulnerability, there's this, no guarantee, like you said. Nothing is guaranteed, but the payoff of when you do it, the sense of self, and feeling so aligned and feeling so good, is that's the payoff afterwards. The willingness to go over this bridge of discomfort and all this fear that we just talked about, and then you go and you walk
Yeah,
into this
yeah,
beautiful, inner rewarding sense of self, right? It's inner rewarding. You don't expect anybody outside to actually fulfill you. You feel fulfilled after that. So that's,
yeah,
I feel like it's so beautiful, because I feel like we're going to dive into another topic where we're going to talk about how to actually communicate with other people and embrace our true self with other people's around us. Because this is the ultimate challenge, guys. We live with other human beings. If it was just of myself or yourself living in this beautiful world, there would
floating.
be no problem, quote unquote. You know what I mean? So how to actually manage around different type of relationship, different type of personalities, and how to actually be yourself amidst all of those clashing that we can
Yeah,
experience. Yeah, wow. And at the beginning you were talking, just not the beginning, but just earlier you were talking about, how some people can, not really be able to receive your vulnerable at that moment. And there is possibility, guys, to actually be vulnerable with oneself, with yourself. When you do your self journaling, self meditation, asking yourself the hard questions. If you have to cry by yourself, there is different ways of
yeah,
practicing this vulnerability. If you don't feel like you're ready up, or you don't know how to practice it with somebody else,
yeah,
you can do
yeah.
it with yourself. You can do it, like you said, by trying something new that's out of your comfort zone, doing a sport you never
Yeah,
did,
just a little
activity.
steps.
There's
Mhm.
so many different ways to actually have different steps within. And the more you're practicing this muscle, the payoff, guys, the rewards for yourself, personally, intrinsically, is going to be amazing. You're going to feel so much more at peace and liberated, and you're going to
Yeah,
want
free.
embrace that even more because it's empowering. You know?
Definitely. Definitely.
Love this so much. We have to wrap it up because
Beautiful.
time is flying.
Beautiful.
I feel like next week we can move towards the next episode with the how to, which is the situation. When is it ideal, quote unquote? When is the right parameters for one to be vulnerable, to express this her or his vulnerability? What do you think?
I think it will be really worth it to dive more into with the timing, the circumstance, and the with whom. So we can definitely touch upon discernment, because again,
Yeah.
sometimes opening up or being vulnerable with the wrong person on the wrong timing can actually just get us more hurt than
Yeah.
free us to stretch the muscle.
So
So there's no
to
need for
see
that.
to see the flags and the you said it earlier, the different, there's different things that you can learn to pick on and know when is the right timing, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely this is something I feel like that's gonna be the whole close up the whole topic. I feel I could talk about it for so long. So this is it, guys. It's done for today. Thank
for
you so
today.
much, my dear Miruna, for your presence. Always such a blessing. I love this so much because it allows us as well to, you know, come back into it, re-realize stuff. And it's really about self-awareness as well. This vulnerability is going to grow so much in your self-awareness. And self-awareness is just
Definitely.
so many purposes. It's just beneficial in all fronts. So yeah,
Definitely. Thank you so much. It was an amazing episode, and I can't wait for the next one.
bye guys.
See you next time.